Today we're going to talk about treasure hunting in the Philippines, and not the kind with a shovel, the kind that leads to lasting life partner, true love, and just a total 180-degree change of your life. I'm Rob, co-author of the best-selling book in Philippines travel, #1 for 8 months, Fly Me to the Philippines. Today we're going to talk about treasure hunting, what it is to succeed, how hunters, fishermen, and treasure hunters pursue the prize, and what leads to failure, what leads to success. I've conducted over 500 consultations in the last 18 months since I started, and I've collected metadata, trends. Chrissy and I, with her social media investigations, our platinum Big Brother, Little Sister consulting programs, we've talked to hundreds and hundreds of expats, and we've learned what is the mistake that the treasure hunter makes. Where is true gold found, and where is fool's gold found? You stay tuned. We're going to talk about the Philippines treasure hunt. Some of our clients have found extraordinary success, and I'm happy to say about 100 of the 500 are in long-term relationships. They report back they've been married, they're living together. Some of the women have already come back to the West on K-1 visas. Others are getting married here in the Philippines. It's really wonderful when people check in with Chrissy and I and share their success stories. And there's another 100 that just crashed and burned. And there are certain parameters about the way they hunt for treasure, the mistakes they made, that we're going to share a little bit of that today, and how you can successfully go about your journey, and some of the road signs you should pay attention to, and some of the best practices that you should prepare yourself for. This should be a hunt that results in treasure. And at your age, you don't really want to do it 2 or 3 times. You want to be careful, measured, methodical, and follow the straight line to success. A lot of people say to me, "Wow, Rob, Chrissy, you're so lucky you won the lottery." But after talking to 500 men, yeah, Chrissy's quite special. But there are tens of thousands of Filipinas here living in a time warp, 1960s America, ready to be your partner, ready to enter into an age gap relationship with you, ready to enjoy your retirement, the next phase of your life, the get off the couch phase of your life. All right, let's talk about treasure hunting, the secret nobody talks about. You know, it took me a long time in my life to learn this, but very little occurs in under a year. You can't finish medical school, you can't become a lawyer. Very few new businesses become successful in the first year of a startup. Very often, success takes time and patience. And it's the lack of time and patience that leads to failures. It leads to really disastrous results. A treasure hunter would never expect to find the treasure in the first week. Now, he always has this gut sense that he might get lucky. He thinks he knows where to start the search. But you will very rarely meet a treasure hunter who was successful the first week out on the ocean. This requires discipline, and lack of discipline and an assumption that you can be successful immediately is the #1 reason men run into trouble. Now, look, you've heard me and a lot of other vloggers tell you that you're the prize, you are it, you're the lottery ticket, you're the Powerball. And when you sign on to that dating app, boom, your email explodes. Most men, 65-year-olds with a dad bod, report back 200 to 500 incoming messages. They immediately lose self-control. They have no discipline. Why men fail in the treasure hunt. I've seen this hundreds of times. A man watches some YouTube videos, he picks a dating app, he gets inundated with beautiful Filipinas, really beautiful Filipinas are writing to him, and he is emotionally invested in a woman in 48 hours. He's over his skis. And he's blowing past red flags, yellow flags, and he's all in the first 2 days. He's not dating, he's daydreaming. He's rushing past red flags, busting through mile markers. He's investing in long shots because she's young, she's gorgeous, she's got a pretty smile, and she's sweet to him. The same impatience that ruins investments ruins relationships. They think affection can be purchased with Wi-Fi and compliments, but sincerity takes time. I've spoke to over a dozen men who've sent thousands of US dollars to Filipinas that they've never met. Many of these men have never video chatted the woman. They've not met the family. They see the poverty just from still photos and text messages, and they rush in and they lead with their money. And this can go on for months and months and months, and when they fly in, the girl never shows up. It's just one big scam. The man is so far out over his skis. The number one reason men never find the treasure is because they think with their eyeballs and they chase the most beautiful woman they see online, and they don't follow any of the rules. They let that woman contact them first. They settle for no video chat. They settle for poor quality video chat. They don't ask for documentation. They don't ask for seminars, certificates of no marriage. They settle for not meeting the family. They settle for a girl who says you don't have to meet the family after we meet. The list goes on and on. They want the gold, but they didn't follow the treasure map. My successful clients understand what a treasure hunter, a fisherman, a big game hunter understands. Patience, perseverance, and a plan are really important. You can't rush the hunt. You can't skip the wait. You have to read the signs, the trail, the wind, and the movement. In dating, whether in-person boots on the ground in Cebu City, in Makati, BGC, Davao, Dumaguete, skipping these steps, these are red flags. Things that don't line up. Little inconsistencies. Emotional push and pull behaviors. Excuses about video chat. Excuses about no availability. Too much drama too soon. The disciplined hunter walks away from bad ground. Desperate man stays and tells himself it'll turn around. A man who is patient can read the terrain. A man in a hurry is quickly lost. And here's the truth. If she's the real thing, she'll stick around. She's not going anywhere. The right woman will be there next week. You wouldn't chase after the first thing that moved in the bushes. So why would you chase after the very first woman who messages you? I want to talk to you about a famous experiment. We talked about this once before. It's called the Stanford experiment, and it involved young children around the age of 6 to 8, and they were brought into a room and given a marshmallow by the psychologist, and he told the children, I'm going to leave to do an errand. When I come back in 10 minutes, I'm going to give you a second marshmallow if you still have the marshmallow. You're free to eat it. You can play with it. You can step on it. But if you still have this marshmallow when I come back, I'll give you a second one. And 95% of the children ate the marshmallow or destroyed it before he came back. And 5% roughly waited, asked for the second marshmallow, and then they had a little sense of what they would do with 2 marshmallows. One kid put 1 in each cheek and pop. This is called the Stanford experiment, and it's an experiment about deferred gratification. People who learn to wait. They tracked these children as they grew up in life, and they found the majority of the children, 95%, grew up to be quite normal. But the 6% who waited and knew the lesson of deferred gratification grew up to be doctors and astronauts and were very successful people. And this is one of the keys to treasure hunting, is to have some deferred gratification. Look, you were divorced or you've been out of a relationship for a long time. Your game with women is not what it used to be. Now it's role reversal. You're targeted. You're the one with 500 incoming emails. You're the hot commodity. When women show you affection, can you display deferred gratification? This is key to success and treasure hunting. In this video, I'm going to show you how that skill, the ability to wait for it, to wait for the deferred gratification, is going to pay off in spades. Every time she asks or hints for money and you say no, you pass the marshmallow test. But if you are driven by your visual orientation, your eyes, your loneliness, your desire. If you allow it to override your logic, that's when you fail the test. Men tell me all the time, Rob, she's not like others. That's why I sent her money. And I say, okay, how do you know? Because we've learned that if a woman asks you for money in the first 15 days, or if you send a woman money before you meet her in person, you have failed the marshmallow test, and your chances of being successful are very small. It's not zero, but it's very, very small. 9 out of 10 times, it doesn't work out. These are the women, when Chrissy does her open source ethical and moral background investigation, they turn out to be women who are married, have secret boyfriends, were at a resort with a Frenchman last week, have a passport at Disneyland in Hong Kong, but they lied and said they'd never been out of the country. Sometimes they're ladyboy. It goes on and on and on. And it's always the men who settled, jumped in, got over their skis. More often, not always, but more often than not, it's like 90% of the time. It's not about denying attraction. You know, a 27-year-old Filipina, college-educated, perfect English, is telling you all the charm school lines. Well, sure, there's an attraction. It's not about denying attraction. It's about being aware about how attraction blinds you. Just because she's sweet doesn't mean she's worth unwrapping. If you're serious about this journey, I've got chapters and chapters in this 300-page book that's been a bestseller on Amazon for Philippines travel for 8 months now. Pick up a copy. Rushing past red flags. Most men don't get scammed because they're stupid. They get scammed because they're in a hurry. 50 people have given $2,000. They didn't have any video chat, or it was bad video chat, or limited video chat, or always the same time of day video chat. And they rush, they're in a hurry, and this is the #1 reason they make big mistakes. It doesn't take long to consult with me and Chrissy. You know, in a perfect world, everybody would have a big brother and a little sister they could talk to who'd taken this journey ahead of them and had met dozens or hundreds of expats and could just share some of the lessons. The minute you become emotionally invested, that's when you start to make mistakes. Your logic shuts off. You ignore all the mismatched signals. And every con artist knows you don't have to fool the man about every detail. You just have to slip 1 or 2 difficult details past your mark. When your heart is pounding and you're losing control of your discipline, you start to tell yourself maybe everything is fine. But no, everything is not fine. Slow down. Patience is key. If you're 65 with a dad bod, absolutely not. You cannot respond to anybody who initiates contact. And now when you go into the app looking for the girl, the shelves will have bait. We're going to have very perfect profiles. 32, no children, college educated, speaks great English, killer bod shown in a leotard. Okay, pursue that. Write her a personalized paragraph. It's going to be bait. So we have to look for the girl next door, the girl who doesn't show off her petite figure, the girl who won't dress provocatively, and will give you 2 or more photos. She'll have been online in the last 24 hours. There's the opportunity online. In person, be careful. You're chasing after the resort girl, you're chasing after the waitress. They see a lot of foreigners, they see a lot of men at fancy restaurants and in these places. So have some patience, whether in person, boots on the ground, or online. A woman with constant drama and emergencies, this is a red flag. Don't ignore it. Family emergencies, broken phone, brother motorcycle accident, dog at the vet. It goes on and on and on. Understand this. Love does not come with constant crises. Patience is what protects you from pain. Patience and waiting, this is when you really learn who people are through their actions over time. Time is the greatest truth detector in the world. The long game pays off. You know, there aren't many things you can accomplish in a year. You can't become a doctor, you can't finish engineering school. In our lifetimes, we want immediate gratification, but very few things can be accomplished in a year. And when I look at my journey to meet Chrissy, I was online 3 separate times over 7 years before I met Chrissy. My mistake was I lacked patience and I gave up. So after a month online, I quit for 2 years. And then after a month 2 months online, I found out the woman was engaged to a man from Ohio. I was being totally scammed with the long con. I took it personally, I quit. It wasn't until the 3rd time, I guess it was 5 years, And I put in a lot of effort. And I developed a system called the last chance system that I teach in my consulting practice. The women are being scammed as much as the men. The women lack patience too. The women, 95% eats the marshmallow, so 95% of the women, they eat the marshmallow, 95% of the men. The women, they think they're prettier, they think they're smarter than their girlfriends. They're not going to go for the 65-year-old with the dad bod first time out of the gate. They're looking for 45 Brad Pitt. And sure enough, these dating sites are flush with scamming men only out for a little show and tell. And it takes the women 9 months or a year to figure out they're being lied to. Their age ticks up. And finally, they realize, uh-oh, I'm 29, I'm so much closer to 30 when I become a leftover, and what they'll do is they'll come back. Now it doesn't say new anymore, they'll come back, and they're gonna look for that 65-year-old with the dad bod. They're looking for that relationship this time. That's who you need to look for, and that's the girl next door look on these sites. You can't lead with your money. So if you show a Mercedes-Benz in the background, you show a Lexus car in the background, you show an 80-inch TV in your profile pictures, you're leading with your money. And it's the women who lead with their beauty and the men who lead with their money. These two types of people find failure and they get wrapped around the axle. And it can take the women 9 months or a year to realize they're just chasing a married man. It could take the man 2, 3, 4 different attempts before he figures out the woman is transactional and just in it for his money. So the men who take a long-term investment approach, they take the time to seek out advice. They take the time to watch some YouTube. They take the time to learn from other people's success. A lot of people, they'll go to Warren Buffett for advice. Why? Well, he's the master. He's done it better than anybody else, longer than anybody else. It's not a bad idea to do it his way. So getting an example, learning some best practices, finding some rules of the road. I've often said having a big brother and a little sister is so valuable. And we like to think that watching videos like this and consulting can speed up your process while you're still going in a methodical manner and you're not chasing and blowing past the red flags. When you slow down, you start to see patterns. Sincerity has its own rhythm. Scammers can't fake consistency. Very hard. There's always a little slip up going on. So what is the treasure map? Well, it's not complicated. It's discipline. I always say we're very visual. And if you see a woman in Daisy Dukes washing the hood of a Corvette, you'll walk downstairs across the street and propose marriage. There's an algorithm in your head. It's like, why does a German Shepherd salivate when it sees a ribeye? We don't know why. The dog doesn't know why. You don't know why. But we're so visual and we're so impulsive when we get these visual cues. So we need to fight against the algorithm that's in our human nature. We have to fight the impulsivity. We have to have some discipline, and we have to remember deferred gratification pays off. So first thing is, you got to find the right pond. Now, Chrissy and I met on Filipino Cupid. I have a lot of clients that have done well with slightly older professional women on Pina Love. And about 50 of my clients have met quality women on Christian Filipina, but not usually the men who pay for the super high memberships. They seem to get targeted and easily scammed. Maybe because they easily pass on their money to the dating app, they also easily pass on their money to Filipinas. Those are the 3 primary dating sites that my clients report back to me. For me personally, Filipino Cupid, we have a survey, 30% met there. It's a little bit like Grand Central Station. There's more trains, there's more restaurants, but there's more pickpockets and there's more scammers and fraudsters, and you're gonna meet some strange people. The fish you catch has more to do with the pond you fish in than your skill with a rod and reel. And if you're targeting women under the age of 25, college women, good luck, because our history of helping men and doing background checks and talking to men and hearing about their experiences is really shoddy. I mean, it is really horrible. The percentage of success when they're chasing very, very young women is very low. It's not 0, but it's more like 15 or 20%. Chasing older women, women above 45, is not percentage-wise a good long-term bet. They're a little bit difficult, set in their ways, and they've usually had a foreigner already in their past, if they're still pretty. Look for women in smaller towns, like Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Roanoke, Virginia, towns that have 20,000 to 100,000 people, places where women don't drive in private automobiles and show up at hotels at night. They don't go to bars in a taxi in the dark. These towns quite often don't have taxis. They walk, they take a jeepney, they're on a motorcycle. Every uncle, every cousin in town knows what they're up to, and they work 6 days a week. So if they went to college there and it has 50,000, you know, Chrissy had a town of 20,000 people, I met her. Check for honesty, modesty, and family ties. These are very important. Put in the time and make the checks. Use your gut. Listen to your gut. Your gut is very important. If it tingles and your spidey senses tell you this doesn't add up, slow down. Don't get out over your skis. And absolutely follow the golden rule. Don't share the gold until you've personally met the girl. And really, you need to come for 3 weeks and make sure she doesn't have 2 or 3 other irons in the fire. Don't confuse flattery with affection. And don't confuse availability with sincerity. Many of these women are single mothers and they're home at a sorry store watching nieces and nephews. They're like housebound. They've got a smartphone and Wi-Fi and they got lots of time on their hands. Real love is not found with a woman who dazzles you for 7 to 10 days. It's found with a woman who is consistently showing interest in you, getting to know you, knowing your intimate moments, sharing over a period of time so you feel like you really know who you're dealing with. And using something like Chrissy's social media background check, I personally, if you were my brother, I would tell you absolutely you should never come to the Philippines without doing that. We have a 13-page guide we'll send you for free if you'd like to do it yourself. So write us at flymetothephilippines@gmail.com and we'll send you the free PDF, or we'll give you the background on how Chrissy's service works and how much it costs. Staggering success when patience pays off. You know, I've seen men rebuild their lives from scratch, laid off, divorced. The woman put a bunch of nonsense in their head about how they were this and how they were that, and it rumbled around for 2 years before they decided to pivot, get off the couch. Crazy change in life is possible. It happened to me. We didn't find happiness by rushing. I spent 60 days talking to a woman. It wasn't until I spent 3 hours I found her mother's Facebook page and I learned she was engaged. That's not rushing. Now, there was a lockdown going on, and so I had a little help waiting. I had a little help because there was a lockdown. I couldn't rush off. But it's that ability to do the background check and to wait for it and to be patient that leads to crazy success. You watch, you wait, you trust your instincts, and like that hunter on the African safari, maybe he can't get his prize if he only books 2 weeks. It's the treasure hunter, pulls up to the spot on the map that he thinks the treasure will be, and it's not there, but he doesn't quit. And 2 years later, he finds that Spanish galleon. It's the fisherman who books the best guide in the Great Lakes, and it's on the 4th week of a 4-week fishing trip that he catches the prize he's been looking for. Good hunters, treasure hunters, know how to wait for it. Wait for it. They know what they're looking for, and they're not going to chase after the first shiny thing that comes along. A Filipina who loves you. She will not manipulate you. She will not pressure you into sending money. She will not disclose financial hardship. She's been told. This is so true. Any woman who wants to meet a foreigner, they ask their classmate, how do you do it? How do you do it? What's the secret? And their mother, their aunt, their classmate says, whatever you do, don't hint, don't ask for money. Just don't do it. It's like scaring a deer. Like if you were trying to feed a deer and every day you walk 3 feet closer, 3 feet closer, why would you jump up and down and wave your hands with the lettuce in your hand on the 9th day, on the 14th day? You wouldn't do it. You've been told not to do it. And if you really love that man, why would you risk spooking him like a deer? You wouldn't. So you have to be patient. Don't get out over your skis. Wait 15 days. She doesn't hint. She doesn't ask. Now it's time to wait a little bit more. Now let's check the pedigree of that girl. Let's see if she's married. Let's see if she's going to college like she says. Let's see if she really has a job. Take your time. Now, having said that, if you meet a unicorn, if you meet a girl like Chrissy, well, I don't mean take 6 months. I don't agree with 6-month relationships. And when you first write to a girl online, you're allowed 3 text messages. We're not looking for a pen pal. 3, and the third message has to be, can you video chat tonight or sometime tomorrow? 24-hour rule, like a 24-second clock in basketball. She gets 24 hours to get rid of that horrible pimple on her face. She dropped her phone in the toilet. Good, dry it off. Borrow your friends. You know, Chrissy, when we were up in the mountains, there was an earthquake here, and we were concerned about the kids, and we pulled into a sorry store. We paid 10 pesos for 4 hours of unlimited Wi-Fi. 10 pesos, that's about 18 cents, okay? That's what it costs for 4 hours. And there's chairs and, you know, it's not air conditioned, but any of these Filipinas, the number of Filipinas who don't have a sorry store and a peso Wi-Fi box 100 meters from their front door is about 1% or 2% of the population. It's so rare. In some neighborhoods, every third house is a sorry store with a peso plan Wi-Fi box. So don't take that nonsense, and make sure that you put in the time and you get that video call within 24 hours, or you block them, as my friend Manuel says. The men who find crazy success, they didn't rush. They watched, they waited, they did their due diligence. They verified if it was real gold or fool's gold, and they trusted their instincts. You can't microwave trust. It has to simmer. If you met a girl who's a unicorn and for 15 days she doesn't ask for money, then you check her social media, either with our free 13-page PDF, which you can get by writing us, or by hiring Chrissy. Once she passes that background check on social media, it's time to get to the Philippines pretty quick and do an in-person investigation. 21 days or more is what I recommend in case she's got several fish on the hook. Initially, patience is not a weakness. It's your power, your superpower. But it's also your superpower that you can put on your cape and fly to the Philippines. And if you're 65 with a dad bod and that girl's been scammed by a man who was married and lied to her for a year, she doesn't want to wait another year. So we don't want to rush and pick the girl before we wait 15 days, before we check her social media. But once we've done that, and it's 20, 30 days into knowing her, and she's consistent, never hints, never asks for money, she's educated, speaks good English, she's sincere. Now, if you can tell her that you can fly and you can arrive in 4 weeks or 5 weeks, she will go all in and she will wait for you, because she is tired of waiting a year to find out she's been lied to, and she needs to see you, and she wants to meet you at the airport. And that's okay if you found somebody like my Chrissy. Remember, patience and due diligence is not a weakness. It's the quiet power of a man who knows what he's worth. If you're interested in getting some do's and don'ts, knowing the rules of the road, if you want to know what these other 500 clients learned and shared with Chrissy and I, if you want a big brother and a little sister in the Philippines and you want to avoid some costly mistakes, I'm pretty sure Chrissy and I can be pretty useful. There's a link to our consultation calendar in the first pinned comment and the description box. And just write us at flymetothephilippines@gmail.com. And if you want very specific information on Chrissy's open source social media investigation service, why not be patient? Why not wait for the second marshmallow? Why not avoid mistakes? Why not learn from someone like Warren Buffett? If you're an investor, learn from someone like Chrissy, who's done hundreds of background checks on women who've claimed to be true and in it for love, but many of them have turned out to be in it for other reasons. Join us next time. Chrissy will be back from Fly Me to the Philippines.